Hi, so today we are going to talk about how to take an equation that's in standard form, like the one on the left of the screen, and we're going to talk about how to change that into slope-intercept form, which is on the right of your screen. The whole purpose of slope-intercept form is so that we can graph it easier. It's just easier to work with. The next unit we do, we'll go back to standard form as we look for places that the lines intersect. But for right now, everything we're doing is in slope-intercept form. Oh, let me go back. I forgot to show you something. I want to prove to you, though, that these two equations are equivalent. So I'm going to just show you. Oh, it's going to let me write or no? Okay. I guess it deletes me when I'm writing. I want to take this whole equation and set it up so that it's y equals mx plus b. Well, how am I going to do that? Well, I have to get y all by itself. So in order to get y by itself, I know I have to move these x's. Now, if I wanted to just move the 6 and not all 6 x's, I would divide, but I'm not. I want to move all 6 x's. To do that, I'm going to subtract each of the sides by 6x. Now, when I do that, these 6 x's are gone. I'm left with negative 3y's. And on the other side, remember, I always write the x first. So I'm going to write negative 6x plus 9 because it's a positive 9. Okay, so I'm getting there. I'm really close. But I still have negative 3y's left. And I need to have just one positive y left. So because I don't want to move my y's, I just want to move the negative 3, I'm going to divide. Divide this by negative 3. And then everything on the right side needs to be divided by negative 3. Not just one term, both terms. So I'm going to divide this by negative 3, and I'm going to divide this term by negative 3. Okay, negative 3 divided by negative 3 is a fancy form of 1, so I'm left with 1y. Over here, if I have negative 6 and I divide by negative 3, a negative divided by a negative is a positive, so I'm left with, well, 6 divided by 3 is 2, so I'm left with 2 x's. And on this side, over here, I have 9 divided by negative 3. Well, 9's positive and 3 is negative, so the signs are different, and that gives me a negative. 9 divided by 3 is 3. Do you notice that it's the same as this? They are the exact same value of equation. They are just written in different forms, and that's what we're focusing on. Oops, let me get that off of there, and we'll go to the next line. Okay, so how do I rewrite this equation in slope-intercept form? It looks pretty simple, so let's work on that. I want to take these x's and move them over here. Well, there's only one, so all I have to do is subtract off that x there and subtract an x here. Now I have y equals, and I always write my x's first, negative x plus 5. Now, when it comes time to graph this, it's easiest to think of negative x as negative 1 over 1x. Remember, because it's rise over run, so it's a lot easier to graph if you know what the fraction is. Okay, move on to the next thing. I'm going to try to make them just slightly harder every time. Okay, so the next problem again. I need to take these 4 x's and move them over here so I get y by itself. So I'm going to subtract those 4 x's here. And I'm going to subtract the 4 x's from this side. Okay, so these are gone. And I have y, oops, that's a y, equals negative 4x plus 6. And there's no value in front of y except for a positive 1, so there's nothing more for us to do. Don't forget, when I go to graph negative 4x, that means this is the slope, remember? Negative 4 is the same as negative 4 over 1, and this helps for our rise and our run if we remember it that way. Here we go. Slightly different, but very similar. Okay, now in this case, I have negative 4x's. What would I need to do to move negative 4x's to the opposite side of the equation? Well, remember, I want to move this entire set of x's. I want to move them over here. I want to move them to the opposite side, so I have to do the opposite. The opposite of negative 4x is positive 4x. So in this case, we're adding it. I'm going to add it over here as well. All right, looks pretty good so far. These are gone. I did the opposite. Opposites make 0. I have a positive 2y. And on this side of the equation, remember to write your x's first. I have 4x plus 6. Okay, I'm not done. I have 2 y's. I cannot have 2 y's. So I need to divide both sides by 2. And if I divide that by 2, I have to divide both terms by 2. Not just one of them, both of them. This is a fancy form of 1. On this side, 4 divided by 2 is 2x, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. All right? Let's try this next one. They're getting a little trickier. All right, let's see. What do you think we need to do first? I think I'm going to subtract the 2x's here. And whatever I do to the left, I do to the right. Awesome. Now I'm left with negative 6y's. Don't forget, bring it down exactly as you see it. And I have negative 2x's plus 12. Awesome. Not done. I have negative 6y's. I can't have negative 6y's. So what am I going to do? I have to divide every single term by negative 6. Whatever I do to the left side, I have to do to the right side. Okay. Fancy form of 1. I have y equals. Now, don't get nervous just because you know that this is going to be a fraction. Fractions are good with slope because they're just so much easier to graph. So don't be afraid of the fractions. But let's note this first. The numerator is negative. The denominator is negative. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. Okay. So 2 and 6 both have the same factor of 2. I'm going to divide them both by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and that's my slope. My slope is 1/3. Don't forget to write your x. Super important. Don't forget to write that x. And over here, remember I have a positive, and then there's a negative. If the signs are different, I'm going to end up with a minus or a negative. They're the same. 12 divided by 6 is 2, and this is slope-intercept form. Beautiful work. Let's try this next one. Oh, it says you try. I'm going to pause the video. You're going to pause the video. You're going to try this for yourself to make sure you get it before I move on. Now remember, I'm subtracting x on both sides. I'm left with 2y equals negative x plus 10. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, it's really a 10, not a 1.0. Awesome, last step. Divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. And what am I left with? Okay, don't forget there's an invisible 1 in front of that x. So this is really just 1/2 x plus 5. Okay, one more to try. Now this next thing, if you, oh, look at this. Okay. This is your next activity. This isn't Schoology. This is your kind of your exit ticket for the week. If you notice, every single one of these equations are not in slope-intercept form, and some of them are pretty big. So let's just try the first one together so we get the idea of what we need to do. This first one actually looks really easy because almost everything is in slope-intercept form. It's just that there's a coefficient of 3 in front of the y. So let me just show you what we're expecting you to do. If I want to get that 3 out of there, I have to divide everything here by 3. Oh, I should have shown that over there on the first one. Okay, good. Y equals, now on this one, it's negative 2/3. oh, I'm going to write off the trail here. And then 6 divided by 3 is 2. So this is the deal. You need to start at the y-intercept, just like you've learned to graph before, which is at 2. So I'm going to start up here at 2. Put a big dot. Now my slope is negative, so don't forget if it's negative, that means I'm going down first and then to the right. So I'm going to go down 2 from here and to the right 3. Down 2 to the right 3. Down 2 to the right 3. Now remember, if I want to go to the left of the y-intercept, I do everything in the opposite. I went down and to the right, now I'm going to go up and to the left. So I'm going to go up 2 to the left 3. Up 2 to the left 3. And when I connect my points here, and I'm not going to be able to do it because, well, maybe I can use a straight edge of some sort. I can't. I'm going to make a like the best straight edge line I can. I'm not on Cami, so I can't draw this very well. Do you see the letter that it goes through? Okay, write it over here because you are finding a treasure, and so you're going to have to spell something out. I just want to do one more problem with you, and that's at Elizabeth down below. The first thing you're going to need to do here for Elizabeth is distribute. And actually, let me move my screen down for a minute. Let me pause the video. Okay, it wouldn't let me pause the video, and I can't move the screen. So just look at this very carefully. When I get done with Elizabeth here, if everybody can see this right here, I have distributed through, and now I'm going to just write in the middle of the screen, y minus 6 equals 1/2 x. And then 1/2 times 2 is 1, and it was a -2, so it's a -1. Not done yet, though. I have to have y all by itself, and I still have y minus 6. So I'm going to have to add that 6 here, and the only place I can add on the right side is to the like terms, so I can add it to the -1. And I'm left with here for Elizabeth, y equals 1/2 x plus 5. And that's the equation for Elizabeth. So I just did a couple of these for you. Good luck with the rest.